If it's the first time to join J Network, everybody, welcome to our Wednesday nights. So for those it's your first time, every Sunday night and Wednesday night. On Sunday night, we learn part of the just, 8 o'clock UK time. And on Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, 9 p.m. Israel time, we have an array of incredible speakers to inspire us. So tonight, we have Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen, who, apart from being, I view as a good friend of mine, he's, I think, one of the legendary top educators on the planet right now. I mean, how many people can teach meditation, martial arts, and Kabbalah, probably all at the same time?
I was playing the piano.
You know, Rabbi Cohen is from my neck of the woods, from the UK, spent time learning in Manchester, and then went to Asia and went to become a teacher out there, and then went home to the land of Israel and probably hasn't left ever since.
I haven't.
And you don't know where he's going now. He's going back to Asia now, it looks like. But we're very, very lucky to have an evening with, as I said, one of the top speakers out there in Jewish meditation, in Kabbalah, in spirituality. So without further ado, please give it up for the one, the only, the big tzaddik, my good friend, Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen, everybody.
Thank you. Used to be a dance music DJ as well, Rabbi Hill, in Manchester. I went to Manchester University, studied philosophy. Waste of time, but I was a pretty good dance music DJ. And I played the Cambridge University end of term ball, actually, a couple of times with Judge Jules. You guys probably don't remember Judge Jules, but he was one of the top DJs in England before you were born. And drum and bass as well. Used to play drum and bass, hard house, drum and bass. I did all that. Grew up in England. Played lots of sport, philosophy at Manchester University, and basically realized that myself and most people around me weren't particularly living with the most deep, meaningful, vital, joyful, conscious, conscientious lives. And I realized at some point, I've got to work out what I'm living for. What's the purpose? What am I meant to achieve whilst I'm here? Because you don't need a Kabbalist to tell you this, but we're not going to be around forever. We have a limited time span in this game, and we've got to make sure that we know what we're trying to achieve and how to achieve it, and what our tools are along the way, and what skills we have to learn, and what the consequences are. So we're playing a game. It's called the game of life, and we got to know how to play the game in the right way. So as the Holy Rabbi said, I went to Manchester University, did philosophy, but then I started watching lots of martial arts films, Bruce Lee films, and I realized that most of the wisdom, I thought so at the time, most of the wisdom I'm looking for is in the East, is in Asia, at the feet of masters with long gray beards. And I thought, I gotta go find out what am I meant to be doing? Because life actually is very simple. These are the 3 steps of everything in your life. Number 1, work out the goal. Number 2, work out the steps you need to take to reach the goal. Number 3, do those things. Thank you so much for having me. I'll talk to you again next week. That's it. That's all you need in your life. What are you trying to achieve? And are you sure you're trying to achieve the right thing? So let's say, for example, you're trying to achieve happiness. How about that? I'd like to be happy. So then you have to say to yourself, well, what are the steps I need to take in order to achieve happiness? And clarify that for yourself, because the reason most people aren't necessarily so happy is they don't really know what happiness is or how to get it. But once you can understand what is happiness and how to get it, then you can do it. So that would be the 3rd step, do it. So you guys are learning Path of the Just, Mesilas Yesharim, every Sunday night, correct? 8 o'clock. Sunday night, 8 o'clock, don't miss that. It's amazing. It's a very powerful book. And the very first thing it says in the first chapter is Yesod Chasidus v'Shorish Avoda Tamimahu Sheyitbareh v'Yitamet Etzel Adam Ma Chovato B'Olamah. Unbelievable, hey? So what that means, just in case, is the very first step of any spiritual growth is work out, what are you trying to do? What are you meant to be achieving in your life? So some people think, do you know what happiness is? Happiness is the feeling I get when things go my way. When my football team wins, when people like my Instagram thing, when it's sunny, when I get the bus, when people like me, when things go my way, I get this feeling, and I call that feeling happiness. And therefore, I'm going to spend my whole life trying to get the external world to match up to my expectations, and then I'll be happy. And that's why no one's happy, because you can't do that. It doesn't work. You can never get the external world to live up to your expectations. You can't make sure that everyone likes everything you say ever, and you wear the right thing, and you've got the right phone and car and body and job, and you're going to drive yourself crazy. In fact, that's what people have done. They're driving themselves crazy, trying to get recognition from other people. And do you know why it's extra sad? Because it's recognition based on really superficial values. So even if you do get the recognition, it's like, okay, so you got nice legs. Mazel tov. I got very nice legs, by the way. I'm a martial artist. I got very lovely legs. I'm not going to show them to you now because I don't like to show off. But I got lovely legs. But I don't get my sense of self based on my legs. So happiness isn't the feeling you get when things go your way. That's just called temporary pleasure. Temporary pleasure, that's what I have. But people have confused temporary pleasure for happiness. So they're chasing things that give them temporary pleasure. And I'll tell you a little secret. Very often the things that give you temporary pleasure actually get in the way of your long-term happiness. Oh, I said it. Often things that give you temporary pleasure actually are counterfeit. It's a counterfeit. It's not going to give you long-term real happiness. So you've got to know, what are the steps to reach happiness? I'm not actually giving a class about happiness tonight, but we're going, it's an example, and it's very important as well. Because when I ask anyone, what do you want? 99% of the people I ever speak to, what do you want in life? They're like, I want to be happy. I say, okay, so to be happy, you've got to know how to be happy. And I'm going to tell you now the key to happiness. Do you want to know the key to happiness? It's only one thing. If you have this one thing, you will be happy, no matter what the external circumstances. Even if your team lose and it's raining and no one liked your Facebook post and everything's going wrong, if you have this one thing, you will be happy. And if you don't have it, even if everything's going right and you've got a nice house and you've got a nice car, if you don't have it, then you will not be happy. And that one thing is alcohol. If you've got alcohol, everything's going to be okay. And if you don't, nothing will be okay. Thank you so much for having me. I'll speak to you again. No, so that's not true. The key to happiness is positive attitude. If you have a positive attitude, you'll be happy. If you don't, you won't. That's it. Very simple. Thank you very much. I want to tell you something, and Rabbi Hill will confirm this, that the greatest truths are very simple. They're very simple. It's not complex. Life's not that complex. Your soul is very pure and very simple. Your mind, on the other hand, is completely over complex, double guessing, over analyzing, judging, fearing. Your mind's a mess often, but your soul's very simple. And the truth is very simple. If you have a positive attitude, you'll be okay. That's it. So how do you define positive attitude? Positive attitude means I focus on the good. I focus on what's good in myself, in other people, in the world, in life, in my circumstance. I'm always trying to focus, what can I find good in this situation? And the bad things, the difficult things, I don't ignore them, I don't repress them, but I don't let them control me. I don't be a victim to them. I use them to grow. I use my pain to become stronger. There we go. I'm focusing on the good and I'm growing from the bad. I'm using it to become a stronger person. So, and by the way, that might mean that I cry. It's okay to cry. There's nothing wrong with crying and feeling pain and feeling sad, but just don't become a victim to that. Use the pain to move. The purpose of pain is to help you grow. If you go to the gym and you're not feeling any pain, you're not growing. So too in life, unfortunately, this is how it is, that pain often helps you grow. Pain is one way in the path to reaching much greater things in life. So now it's very clear. What's the goal? Happiness. How do you get to the goal? Positive attitude. So then you have to develop a positive attitude, which isn't necessarily so easy. But as long as you're now clear that your happiness isn't going to come from getting what you want, but rather from wanting what you have, for example, that's a positive attitude. Gratitude. Very quickly, where did I disappear to? I wrote a book. And there's some pictures in the book of what I used to look like before the beard. This is, I don't know if you can really see the picture. That's me in Nepal, and that's me in Shaolin. I trained Shaolin Kung Fu. And this is me in an orphanage in India. And these kids have got polio and they got no parents, or their parents are alcoholic and they have one meal a day, but they're happier than most of my friends. Why is that? Because they don't focus on what they're lacking in life. They focus on what they have in life. That's called having a positive attitude. And in fact, it's quite amazing to think that in general, the more privileged someone is, the less they appreciate what they have. The more privileged you are, the less likely it is that you're going to appreciate and you're going to keep wanting more. There's a picture. I walked the whole length of Israel from the Lebanese border to Eilat in 40 days. That's when I was training Aikido. That's when I was teaching Buddhism. I used to speak Thai and Hindi and Korean and Japanese. I don't speak them so well anymore. So there we go. That was the journey. So my journey took me on this mission to work out, what am I doing? To not just be, someone came to my yeshiva. I work in a yeshiva in Jerusalem. You're all welcome to come and visit. And about 37 years old. And I said to him, what are you doing with your life? You know, what are you living for? And he said, I don't know. I'll see where life takes me. I didn't know whether to laugh or to cry or what. I said, don't see where life takes you, my friend. Don't see where life takes you. You choose where you want to take your life. You choose where you want to take your life. I want to end up here. I want to end up with good values and a healthy outlook. So choose where you want to get to and then go there. Don't see where life takes you, because it's not going to take you anywhere that good. I'll tell you that much, based on statistics that I've read recently. Don't hope for the best. Choose where you want to go, work out how to get there, and go. Do it, do it, do it. That's it. Positive attitude, you're going to get there. So my journey took me to orphanages in Sri Lanka and in India, and lots of 10-day silent meditation retreats, by the way. Very, very, very important. Why is meditation so important? You're all on mute, so you can't answer that question, but you can think about it. Why is meditation so extremely important? And I personally don't believe that the average person can live a healthy life without meditation. The reason meditation is so deeply important is, and this is the most important thing that anyone could ever really say to you, that your whole experience of reality is just whatever's going on in your mind. Your thoughts create your reality. You have to be very clear about this. If you're having very refined, sweet, uplifting, positive, conscious, wonderful thoughts, you will have a wonderful reality. Your thoughts are your reality, because your thoughts are creating your emotions. And if you have negative, judgmental, not nice thoughts, you're not going to have a nice reality. So it's really up to you. This is why this is so empowering, because it doesn't matter what other people say or what the world throws at you. It's you and your mind. Now, it's also deeply not empowering if you don't know how to deal with your mind. So those people, that's why you have to watch so much Netflix and smoke so much weed and do so much partying and work so hard and do whatever you're doing to escape your mind. So that's not wise. It's not wise, because what happens is the program comes to an end and the drugs wear off and you wake up in the morning and you're just back to square one. So the work is not to escape your mind. The work is to calm your mind and control your mind and tame your mind and befriend your mind and use your mind. Don't let your mind run the show. You've got to start using your mind and choosing what's going on in there. So that's what the 10-day silent meditation retreats really did. After about 4 days, I thought I was enlightened after about 4 days. After about 6 days, I wanted to kill myself. After about 8 days, I was like, no, I'm probably half enlightened, half want to kill. So it's a whole journey into self, not running away from the mind, but learning to become a master, to become a master of your mind. And if you become a master of your mind, you become a master of your life. Where do we learn this? It was not Bruce Lee, funnily enough. Bruce Lee got most of what he got probably from Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers. Pirkei Avot says, Ezehu Gibor, who is the strong person, who is the master, who is a master, a Kovesh Ed Yitzro, the person who learns to deal with their mind. Learn to deal with your mind. So that's what we really have to try and do. So that's what happened in my journey. I set off around the world, and I was going to work out, what does it mean to be successful? Who here wants to have a successful life? Me. Okay, so how do you define success? How do you define success? If you can't define success, then you can't have a successful life. So success is how long your Snapchat streak is. If you have a very, very long Snapchat streak, then you have been successful in life. And if you've got lots of people liking your Facebook profile picture and saying, oh, you're so stunning, XXX, and you're like, I really am. I am so stunning. Then that means you've had success in life. Obviously, that's not true. I'm being a little bit silly, but let's define success. If you look up success in your Oxford English Dictionary, it will say success is achieving an aim, a purpose, or a goal. If you achieve an aim, a purpose, or a goal, then you are successful. Now, if you want to have a successful life, you can't just achieve an aim, a purpose, or a goal. You have to achieve the aim, the purpose, or the goal of life. So if you want to live a successful life, success being defined as reaching the purpose, you have to ask your question, what is the purpose of life? What are you meant to achieve while you're here? You're not going to be here forever. What are you meant to achieve? By the way, once you've identified it, you can live with immense vitality, because I know why I'm getting up in the morning. I know I'm getting up because I've got something to achieve. So I want to achieve. So do you want to know the purpose of life? Yes, please. Let's talk about the purpose of life very quickly. I did philosophy at Manchester University, and then I lived in Asia for 6 years teaching Buddhism and doing martial arts, and then I've been in yeshiva for about 12 years. Basically, every single person on the face of the planet that I've spoken to, apart from some weird cult devil worshipping weirdos, they all agree that the basic purpose of life, by the way, even atheists who don't believe in the purpose of life, because if there's no purposeful creator, there is no purpose to life. Even they would say, even though there's not a purpose to life, there are two things you should be striving for whilst you're alive. And what are those two things you should be striving for whilst you're alive to achieve success in life? The answers are, believe it or not, I'm sure you know this already, to improve yourself and to improve the world. That's why everyone says it, to improve yourself, to reach your ultimate potential as a human being. Reach your ultimate potential as a human being. And that doesn't mean improve your golf handicap and have a nice wardrobe. That's not who you are. You should not get your self-esteem based on things that don't define you. So your car and your clothes and your body and your talents and your job, they don't define you. So stop getting your self-esteem based on them. Get your self-esteem based on something much deeper, which defines you a lot more. Not ultimately, by the way, we'll see soon. But what defines you? Someone says, I'm really working on myself. I'm really working on myself. What does that mean? That doesn't mean they're going shopping. What it means is their character traits, their values, what I'm living for, what's important to me, what's good about me. That's what's important. So you've got to improve yourself. I'm going to improve myself, which means I'm going to let go of my hatred, anger, jealousy, anxiety, doubt, fear, low self-esteem, judgment. Well, I'm going to really improve on those areas, work on them. Might take therapy, might take energy healing, might take should take meditation. I'm going to let go of all that negativity within me, which doesn't define me at all, by the way. Jewish wisdom, by the way, the Jewish wisdom says what really ultimately defines you is your neshama, your soul. You are pure and perfect and sweet and beautiful and loving and wonderful and amazing and sweet and beautiful and amazing and kind and loving and happy. That's your essential state of being. It's just that you've got something in the way of experiencing that, and that's called your mind. Your mind's got in the way, unfortunately. So we've got to calm the mind to reveal that. So I'm from London. How many days a year does the sun shine in London? Avi Hill is not looking happy about that. 0 days a year. How many days a year does the sun shine in London? The answer is 365 days a year. It's just that on 359 days of the year, there are clouds in the way. But behind the clouds, every single day of the year, it's sunny, there's a blue sky, it's warm, it's fresh, it's crisp, it's lovely, it's sweet, it's amazing. So your soul, your neshama, is always there. It's always crisp and beautiful and sweet and amazing and loving and happy and connected. It's just that you've got clouds in the way most of the time, and that's called your mind. It's called your mind. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and settle our minds down in order to reveal the happiness that is lying behind there. That's it. You don't have to create happiness. You don't have to create good character traits. You don't have to create peace. You just have to reveal it. Judaism is not a path to achieving enlightenment, to creating enlightenment. It's a path to revealing that you are already enlightened right now. That's your natural state of being. You just got to change the soundtrack going on in your head. You got this voice in your head. From the second you wake up in the morning to the second you go to sleep, you got this voice in your head the whole time. So if you think what percentage of that voice is very sweet and loving and kind and uplifting and nice? I don't know. You got to ask yourself that. Spoke to a group the other day and I said, if you had a friend who spoke to you how you often speak to yourself, how long would you let them be your friend? And they were like, I'd punch them after about 5 minutes. I'd be like, leave me alone. Why are you being so horrible to me? Stop being horrible to me the whole time. So you got to get this voice in your head and you just got to calm it down. Just calm it down. That's what we're trying to do. Natalie, I'm glad yours is 100% sweet. Baruch Hashem, we should all get there one day. So here we go. We've got to start working on this. So what does it mean to improve yourself? Yourself, you've really got 4 levels of yourself. As I said now, intrinsically, who you really are is perfectly pure neshama. I'm just quickly going to share this amazing story. I learned it in India, but it obviously comes from the Torah, because everything comes from the Torah. But basically, this is a famous story the gurus used to tell. There was a pregnant lion, a lioness, and she was pregnant. And one day she was walking along and she fell off a cliff. And in mid-air, basically, she gave birth to her lion cub, and then she died when she landed. But she landed in a field of sheep. So the lion cub gets born into the field of sheep. And he thinks it's a sheep. And he's walking around and is eating grass and is making sheep noises. And he's got a bit of a complex because the other sheep seem a little bit scared of it. But basically, it's a lion cub sheep being. And walking around, and it grows up 6 months, 8 months. It's just being a very, very good sheep, actually. Top of the sheep class. And then one day a lion comes along. And the lion is roaring. The lion's very hungry, wants to eat the sheep. Jack comes into this flock of sheep, and then he sees this lion cub in the middle of the flock of sheep. He's like, oh my goodness, what's going on here? That's crazy. So he basically chases it down and he catches this lion cub by the neck, pulls it up, and he says to the lion cub, what are you doing? And the lion cub looks at him and he's like, meh. He's like, what are you doing? He goes, meh, I'm running away. I'm running away from the lion. I'm a sheep. He goes, no, you're not a sheep, you're a lion. And the lion cub sheep thing says, no, you can't trick me. I'm a sheep. And the lion says, no, you're a lion. You're not a sheep. I'm telling you, you're a lion. He just won't believe it. I'm a sheep. So the lion takes him to the water and says, look in the water, look at your reflection. So he looks in the reflection and he still doesn't believe him. He says, I don't buy that. You tricked me somehow. So the lion lets out a big roar. Roar! Like, that part in Lion King when Simba and Nala in the elephant graveyard and the hyenas are coming to get them. And then he does a little like, rah! And then Mufasa comes. And he's like, roar! So Mufasa, that kind of roar. I love Mufasa. Anyway, so he lets out a roar and something awakens within the lion cub. And he's like, I remember who I am. And that's their story. They say the guru is the lion. And we're all these lion cubs who think we're sheep. You think you're a sheep. You think, someone said to me the other day, Rabbi, I'm just a high anxiety person. And I said, no, you're not. You're a beautiful, sweet, shining soul. You just have lots of high anxiety thoughts. But they're basically saying to me, I'm a sheep. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're a lion. Sorry, you're not a sheep. You're a lion. And they're like, no, my mum, when I was 7 years old, told me I'd never be good enough. So that's who I am. That's not who you are. Don't listen to your mum. Don't listen to any negative criticism and stuff. My teacher, I got bullied when my girlfriend cheated on me. However you developed your sheep-like ego, I'm telling you, you're a lion. You are a lion, whether you like it or not. This is Jewish wisdom. It's true. You're a lion. And that's what our job is, to persuade you and convince you that who you really are, you're a beautiful lion. By the way, after I came to yeshiva and I started learning Torah, I thought about that story again, and I realized what the whole story is. You basically got the lion cub, and then he takes him to water. In Jewish wisdom, water always means the Torah. So he says, come look in the Torah. Come and look in the Torah. You'll find who you really are. But many people, when they start learning Torah, they're like, no, it doesn't resonate with me. It's still not me. I don't. And then the roar is the shofar. Doo, and that's meant to wake up your neshama. And it woke up my neshama. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be lions. Stop being a sheep. So when we say you have 4 levels of yourself, what are the 4 facets of your being? Physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. You're a being made up of these 4 things. So when I say you need to improve yourself, I mean you need to improve yourself in these 4 areas. You need to be physically healthy. You need to eat the right thing. You need to not smoke. You need to not put too much alcohol or Ben and Jerry's into your body or whatever it is. You got to eat and do some exercise. Look after your physicality. Judaism is very, very into being physically healthy. You have a mitzvah from the Torah to be physically healthy. I used to think, no, religious Jews don't care about their health, and it's all about just learning ancient texts. And by the way, I think lots of them have missed this part of the Torah. But anyway, the Torah itself says you should look after your health. Then emotional. You have an emotional world. You need to be emotionally balanced. Are you an emotionally balanced individual? Now let's define, what does that mean? What does it mean to be emotionally balanced? Emotional balance, I'm going to tell you what emotional balance is not. There are 2 extremes of what emotional balance is, what emotional imbalance is. One extreme is that you are completely overwhelmed and controlled by your emotions. You're just basically a mess, thrown around, whatever you feel like. You get so deeply hurt and so deeply joyful, and it changes every minute. And not only that, but your emotions control your decisions. So yeah, I just want to eat the whole tub of Ben and Jerry's. I know it's not the right thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyway because I just need it. So you do things that are not necessarily healthy for you because you let your emotions control your decisions. It's not a healthy thing. What we have to do is called seichel versus taiva, which means your intellect. You have intellect and emotion, and they have to work together. You have to have emotion. It's got to work together with your intellect. So that's one extreme of emotional imbalance, is I'm just a mess, basically. Whatever emotion arises within me, that becomes my reality. The other extreme of emotional imbalance is British men, basically, English men. It's called we have no emotions. We repress them. We got hurt when we were young and we didn't get into the football team. So now we just drink beer and men don't cry and I don't have emotions. That's me. Thank you very much. I know what that is like because I used to be a man. I used to be a human being with no emotions until I got married and my wife was like, I don't want to be married to a robot. So now I pretend that I have emotions just to make my wife happy, but I still don't really have emotions. That's not true. I'm very balanced. I'm very emotionally balanced now. So what is emotional balance? How do you define emotional balance? The extremes of emotion are overwhelmed and controlled or completely repressed and cut off. The world of emotional balance means I'm very open to experiencing my emotions. If I feel lonely, if I feel sad, if I feel jealous, I'm okay feeling those things. I'm not going to judge myself. I'm not going to say I'm a bad person for feeling this. I'm not going to judge other people. And I'm not going to express them in a not healthy way. So I'm open to feeling angry, but that doesn't mean I'm going to punch someone in the face. Just because I didn't have breakfast and I'm feeling hangry, just because I'm feeling hangry doesn't mean you have to punch someone in the face. You don't repress your emotions, but don't necessarily express them either in an unhealthy way. So that's called emotional balance. I feel my emotions. I don't think about them, by the way. As we said, your thoughts create your emotions. So if you think about your emotions, you're just going to build them. If you think again and again, why did he say that? Has anyone ever insulted you? And then you had a whole speech you wanted to say to them. How dare you do that? And I wrote you the WhatsApp message, and I see you saw it 43 minutes ago. It's got the 2 blue check things, and you didn't answer me. That means she's sleeping with him, and I hate me, and he's and you create this whole thing. That's not healthy. So what we got to try and do is, I can experience my emotion, but don't build it. Don't build it by thinking about it. In fact, when you're thinking about your emotions, you're actually avoiding feeling them. You're avoiding feeling them. There's a big difference between pain and suffering. Pain is a feeling, either a physical feeling, you bang your knee, that's painful, or an emotional feeling, you didn't get the job, you split up with your boyfriend, girlfriend, someone passes away. Emotional, that's pain. Suffering is your mind not dealing with the pain in a healthy way. It's saying, why am I lonely? I wish I wasn't lonely. Other people aren't lonely. If I was married, I wouldn't be lonely. I hate being lonely. I'll always be lonely. It's not fair that I'm lonely. That's suffering. That's your mind running around and around and around and around the pain. So what's happening is you're actually doing 2 things now. You're avoiding just feeling the pain, and you're building the pain, actually. So what we need to learn to do is just say to ourselves, I feel really lonely now. Breathe deeply. I feel really lonely now, and that's okay. I'm not bad. I feel like, and once you validate your emotion, once you acknowledge your emotion, the energy gets used up, and you kind of let go of it quicker. So that's called emotional balance. Mental strength. Mental strength means that I have the ability to choose what's going on in my mind, i.e., the voice in my head. I'm controlling that voice in my head. So if the voice in my head is saying very not nice things about me, I can choose to stop it and say, you know what, I'm not having those thoughts anymore. They don't serve me. Those thoughts aren't actually serving me now. And I'm not a victim to my thought. My daughter, when she was 4 years old, she said, Abba, my Yetzer Hara, my negative mind pattern, my Yetzer Hara said to me, don't share your toys with Binyamin, her little brother. Don't share your toys with Binyamin. But I didn't listen to it, and I shared them anyway. That's amazing. 4-year-old girl had a voice in her head, and she said, I'm choosing not to listen to that voice. You don't have to believe every voice in your head. In fact, you probably shouldn't believe most voices in your head, really, unless you've been working on this for a long time. Any negative voice, critical voice, we all have those voices. You don't have to believe that critical voice, that perfectionist voice, because I didn't get praise from my parents growing up. I've now become a perfectionist to impress them. Okay, you don't have to do that anymore. You can choose not to do that. If it's not serving a purpose, if it's not helping you, then don't do it. Obviously, that's also easier said than done. I'll give you one very quick tool, how you can deal with thoughts that you don't want to have. What we want to try and do is, I don't know if any of you have been surfing. So surfing is pretty cool. But when you're in the waves and you're surfing, do you get on every wave that comes along? Do you get on every wave that, no, Roberto's like, no way, man. You don't get on every wave. Do you know why? Because some waves are heading right towards the rocks. And if you get on a wave that's heading towards the rocks, you're going to smash into the rocks. And that's going to be very painful. And then another wave is going to come along and it's got a shark in it. Do you get into a wave that has a shark in it? No, Uncle Dov Ber. Why not? Because you're going to get bitten by the shark. Now, by the way, are you going to repress that wave? No, you can't repress the wave. It's there. Are you going to ignore it? You can't ignore it. It's there. But do you have to get on it? You don't have to get on it. You see what we're doing here? See what we're doing? Your thoughts are waves. You don't have to get on them. You can't repress them. You can't ignore them. They're there, but you can watch them go past. You can observe them. In Jewish meditation, it's called habata, which means to gaze. You can observe your thoughts. Habata from the word lahabit, to gaze, to look at. and you can watch it and you can let it go. That's it. You don't have to make it into so significant. So for example, if you have an anxious thought, you can either run with it and say, oh, it is going to happen, catastrophize, everything's going to be bad, or you could do that. I don't suggest that. Or you could beat yourself up about it. I can't believe I'm having anxious thoughts again. I should be much better. I don't advise you do that either. Or you could just say, oh, wow, that was a very anxious thought. That's it. Don't need to do more. What people do is they get anxious that they're anxious. Don't just be anxious. By the way, if you feel anxious, do you know what you do? Feel anxious. That's it. Okay, I feel a bit anxious now. But don't get anxious here. People get upset that they're upset. Have you ever got upset about something and then said to yourself, I really shouldn't feel upset by this? So how did that help? Now you're upset that you're upset. Just say, I feel upset by this. I'd like to not be so upset by this sort of thing in the future, so I'll work on myself, but I'm upset now. I'm upset. So don't get frustrated that you got frustrated, or upset that you're upset, or anxious that you're anxious, or overwhelmed that you're overwhelmed. Just feel overwhelmed. It's not so bad to feel overwhelmed. It's just bad when you pile another layer on and on and on. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to simplify. It's easier said than done. I understand that. Easier said than done. It says in chapter 6 of my book, easier said than done is my least favorite phrase in the English language. Not because it's not true. It is true. It just doesn't mean it. I know it's easier said than done. Everything worthwhile is easier said than done. Is that you just said that's a statement of fact. It's an excuse. If someone says to me it's easier said than done, I'll say, oh wow, amazing. And London is the capital of England. You shared a fact with me. Here's a fact with you. I know it's true. But if you only ever did things that were easier done than said, you wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't do anything worthwhile. So growth comes through overcoming challenges. So, and you don't have to ask for challenges because you're going to get loads of challenges. So they're going to come. So you're going to deal with your challenges. Then, so that's emotional. And we spoke about mental and spiritual, the final level, spiritual, the final frontier. So what is spirituality? What is spirituality? How do you define spirituality? So I'm going to tell you how Judaism defines spirituality, because people get this very, very wrong. People think that doing Bikram yoga on the beach, smoking weed at sunset is spiritual. And not spiritual at all. So we have to define what is spiritual. By the way, I'm not saying I am saying don't do that, but whatever. Sam Harris, the world's leading atheist, who's a nice Jewish boy, of course, his name's Shmuel Binyamin. Shmuel Binyamin Harris, Sam Harris, he doesn't believe you have a soul. He doesn't believe in God. He's an atheist, the world's leading atheist. I get a bit of nachas from that, by the way, that the world's leading atheist is Jewish. At least he's like the leading one. He's Jewish. But he's got a meditation app, an amazing meditation app. But I don't think it's spiritual, because what does spiritual mean? Spiritual means identifying as and manifesting your soul in the world, in the physical world. So if you don't believe you have a soul, by the way, Buddhists don't believe you have a soul. I taught Buddhism in a Thai university. Buddhism says you don't have a soul. It's called anatta. Anatta, you don't have a soul. So Buddhists can't be spiritual. You like, oh, who are the most spiritual people? Buddhists. Not according to Jewish definition of spiritual. Spiritual means you're connected to your spirit, your ruach, your neshama, the higher parts of your soul. So to the extent that you are identifying as a soul rather than a body, and you are trying to manifest that in the world, you are being spiritual. And by the way, in Judaism, we have mitzvahs. Mitzvah, which people think means a commandment, but the Zohar, the foundational book of Kabbalah, says they're pieces of advice. He calls it pieces of advice. There are 613 pieces of advice for you to manifest your ultimate spiritual potential in the world. That's what they are. And that's why the word spiritual in English is made up of spirit and ritual. Because some people are doing the rituals. They're very frum. They're doing the rituals, but they've lost the spirit. They're just doing it out of rote or fear or habit. But some people have the spirit. No, I love God and I meditate. But if you're not doing the rituals that God told us that we need to do, you're not actually spiritual either. You have to have both. You have to be someone who's doing spirit and ritual together in order to be spiritual. So there we go. Now, you want to be spiritually aware. Some people say the goal of life is to be spiritually connected. I want to be spiritually connected. Judaism says that is by no means the goal of life at all. Why not? The answer is, sweet children of the Lord, that you are always spiritually connected. You can't not be spiritually connected because you are a piece of divine reality. Your soul is a piece of divine reality. So you can't, it's like my finger saying, I really want to be connected to Dov Ber. You are connected to Dov Ber. So you're a piece of divine reality. So you're always connected to Hashem. It's just that you don't feel it. You're not aware of it. So you have to develop spiritual awareness. Feel your connection to Hashem. Feel your connection. So it's not good enough just to improve yourself and improve the world. It's a sweet answer and it's true. But to improve yourself in Jewish wisdom is to manifest your divine essence in life. To walk through life as a sweet, beautiful, shining, holy neshama. Because that's who you really are. And we're running out of time a little bit. I'm now going to share with you the secret to emotional and mental and spiritual well-being that you'd never imagine that I would have said. Yeah, you'd think I'd say meditation. You'd think I'd say meditation, which is important as well. But I can tell you an amazing secret, and the Kabbalists do speak about it. The Arizal, Rav Yitzhak Luria, 1534 in Sfat, probably the leading Kabbalist definitely of his generation and since then. He teaches a beautiful idea. You've got to understand this, and I'm going to say this and then explain it. The secret to emotional, mental, spiritual well-being is physical nurture. Ooh, physical nurture. If you don't feel physically nurtured, you're going to start feeling very run down and tired and emotional. And it means you won't be able to deal with life in a healthy way. Your five senses, sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing, are being consistently bombarded all the time. The car horn beeps, someone shouts at you, you get an email that upsets you, you see things you don't want to see, you taste things you don't want to taste, you feel pain, you feel physical pain. You're basically, this is why very many people just are quite anxious and uptight, because we're being bombarded, and especially social media now. People have no sense of self anymore. I've got no sense of self. My whole sense of self comes from who likes my picture, and is very sad, very sad. I want to give you a whole class on how to build real self-esteem, by the way, real healthy self-esteem. I'll tell you in a few lines, just in case I don't get to speak to you again. Real self-esteem comes from knowing that you're trying to do the right thing. There you go. That's it. Self-respect. I respect myself because I'm not perfect, but I'm really trying to do the right thing. That's it. So I don't care what you think of my legs, even though I got lovely legs. I don't care what you think of my legs or my beard or my class even. I don't even care what you think of my class because I don't get my sense of self based on that. If someone writes to me after the class and said, that was the worst class I've ever been to, what I'll say is, okay, can you give me some feedback? How could I improve it? Because I don't get my sense of self based on that. I get my sense of self based on, did I try to help people in my class? That's it. I feel that I'm trying to do the right thing. And so that's it. I'm doing the right thing, so I feel good about myself. And what about the parts of myself that are not good? I don't feel bad about them. I just work on them. Focus on the good, grow from the bad. I focus on the good within me, and the bad within me, I grow from it. So I feel good about my good character traits, and I feel good about my bad ones because I'm working on them to get them better. Great. So physical nurture. Physical nurture. That means have a hot bath with lavender oil. How about that? Listen to some nice music. Put one piece of chocolate on your tongue. Don't leave this class and say, the rabbi said physical nurture, and just stuff down a whole thing of Ben and Jerry's into your face. That's not physical nurture. That's emotional imbalance. You got to know the difference between physical nurture and emotional. If physical nurture is one little piece of chocolate and just let it melt onto, just to calm yourself down, You just got to calm down a little bit, guys. Chill out. You just got to chill out. Someone once said to me, you lived in Asia for 6 years and you've been learning Torah for many years. What's your one main piece of advice? And I thought about it and I was like, just chill out, man. Just chill out. Take life very seriously, but just chill out. Don't get so stressed about everything. Just chill out. So the Arizal says, for example, you should look at the clear blue sky. Just look, gazing into the clear blue sky completely calms and expands your sense of sight. And that's very healing. It's very healing. You can deal with life better. Obviously, if you live in London, it's hard to find that clear blue sky. But there are other things you can look at to expand your soul. For example, candles. Candles, we're coming up to the Festival of Light. We're coming up to the Festival of Light. And do you know what the mitzvah of Hanukkah is? To look at the candles. Look at them. Liraitam bilvad. You're not allowed to use the candles. You just have to gaze at your candles. Gaze into your neshama. The candle is your soul. So just sit there and look at the candle. It's very, very, very healing. It's very healing light. By the way, Judaism does all of the 5 senses. Havdalah, after Shabbat, what do? We smell spices. Calms your soul down. The shofar, the mitzvah of shofar is just hear the shofar. Tasting, you got a mitzvah eating matzah. You got to finish the Pesach Seder with the taste of matzah in your mouth. Oh, I'd love to give you a whole class on Pesach, different class. I'd love to give you a whole class on Hanukkah, actually, by the way. Anyway, Baruch Hashem, there's a lot to think about. So this is what I want you to do. This is your homework. I want you to write down a list of 5 things that you find deeply nurturing, but that are also healthy. Healthy, nurturing things. For example, a glass of wine with some good friends, a foot massage, a yoga class, whatever, just write and make sure you're doing those things. Once you feel physically nurtured, it means your whole system is unwired. People are generally quite wired, and physical nurture helps you bring it all down and calm yourself down. And from that place, you can deal with the challenges of life in a better way, and your mind slows down and your emotions calm down. So physical nurture, your 5 senses, and just general hot bath, lavender oil. That's the key. We're going to leave a little bit of time for questions. Does anyone have a question? Roberto, watch the road, man.
Hi, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you very, very much. If you're saying being healthy and taking care of your body is a mitzvah, does that mean not doing it is an avera?
Yes, you're not allowed to harm yourself. It's not really your body. You're just borrowing it for like 100 years or so. You have to look after it. By the way, in general, if you're physically unhealthy, it's hard to have vitality. It's hard to get out of bed in the morning if you're feeling heavy and slow, and it's hard to live with vitality if you're struggling physically. So you need to work on your physical being just to feel energy. By the way, most of your energy is taken up with thinking. You don't realize how tiring thinking is. You're doing well. You probably do. That's why we were distracting ourselves most of the time. But if you're physically healthy and strong and light, then life becomes a lot easier. Anyone else? Okay, let's do a 3-minute meditation.
I have a quick question. Sorry.
Go on.
It wouldn't let me unmute.
Now you are.
So what if you're very spiritual and you know the steps, but you're too emotional? So you're too spiritual.
It's a very, very good question. I want to just stick to my theme for tonight, that the way to deal with being over emotional is to ground yourself, in physicality. So for example, there are lots of meditation techniques like watch your thoughts or focus on your breath. But if you're really triggered with anxiety, it's very difficult to implement those techniques. But what you can do is smell some lavender oil, listen to soft music, like bring yourself back into physical reality, even hold on to the table, just bring yourself down into physical reality. That in combination with an affirmation of some sort. For example, if you're very emotional, I'm just going to say anxiety again, just because everyone I speak to nowadays seems to be anxious. If you can just say to yourself, I'm sure it's going to be okay. And however your mind goes, no, it's not going to be okay. How could you say that? If you could just take a deep breath and say, I'm sure it's going to be okay. This is the method to calm your emotions, ground yourself in soft words, and healing physicality. And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. You've got to train yourself. You've got to practice that. But once you can see for yourself that being over emotional isn't good for you, then you're going to want to put in the work to calm your system down. Just calm, and then you should be aware for yourself. Hold on, I'm going into this world of crazy emotion. So this is the antidote. It's soft music, classical music, or whatever it is. But once again, not to go to the other extreme where you completely repress your emotions and say, I'm bad for having this emotion. Just to feel I feel my emotion, but I'm grounding myself. That's the work.
I have a question.
Please, only Camilla-san.
Thank you. You said it is 4 levels of a human being. Is it what we call the 4 levels of the neshama, like the 4 levels of the soul, or just another different aspect of the 4 levels of a human being? Because I am taking notes and I want to be clear.
Okay, it's definitely related. So the lowest level of the soul, called the nefesh, is generally related to physicality. It's not physical, but it's basically your enlivening soul. It keeps your body alive. And then you have the ruach, which is really the emotional soul. And then you have the neshama, which is the intellectual soul. And then you have higher levels, chaya, yechida. We really have 5 levels of the soul. And that's more into the spiritual world. So it's definitely paralleled in the levels of the soul. But how I was speaking about it tonight was more just practical. When I said physical, I really meant your body, and emotional, your emotions, and definitely parallels. I run an online Jewish mindfulness and meditation group. It's a 2-month course. I'm plugging my course, Rabbi Hill, starting on December the 12th. December the 12th is a 2-month course. I'm going to put the website in the chat. There we go, litmindfulness.org. And it's basically, I'm teaching knowledge, and then I'm teaching meditation and mindfulness tools. And then during the week, it's every Sunday night at 9:30. During the week, it's every Sunday night after your Path of the Just class at 8 o'clock. During the week, I set very compassionate, loving mindfulness tasks, and I help you stay accountable to actually do them. You should check it out. It's very sweet. But you need mentorship and partnership and accountability to really implement the tools in your life. I'll put my email address as well, just in case you have stuff. What's my email address? I'm going to give you this one. @email.com. Oh, yeah. financially we make financial packets, but we've decided like the 8-week course itself, just for the 8 sessions is, we worked it out like $450 plus personal coaching from me all the time is another $350 plus all the materials is another $350, but we're just doing the whole thing for $250 with payment plans as well. So if you need to pay $10 a month for 25 months, that's okay. I don't want money to be an issue. Yes, questions? By the way, I just want you to, you obviously know this as well, but Rabbi Hill is a deeply sweet and wonderful man who really, really cares about you and he wants the best for you. So the more you can connect, you want to have mentors in your life. So the more you can connect to him and what he's trying to offer you and bring your friends as well to help, you want people like that in your life. The Rambam, all our sages talk about it. You want to surround yourself by positive influence people who have good values, who want to be there and support you. So really, Sunday nights, Path of Judge, whatever he offers, you know it's going to be good and healthy for you. So jump on that. I will too. I love you, Rabbi Hill. And everything in the merit for my father, Yosef Menucha. He should live a very long life. You can unmute yourself, Rabbi Hill. You're trying. Okay, I'll sing a song.
Okay. Huge thank you to Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen. Rounds of applause, everybody. Do a round of applause. A huge thank you. And a huge referral shalom for your father. We should only hear this great news. Anyone who wants to sign up to Rabbi Cohen's course, go for it. I've got highly recommended from many of my students that have done it, so go for it. And please God, don't get the wrong message. Don't just go and indulge in chocolate tonight. You know, do the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. It says in the Torah, you should love your friend like you love yourself. Before you could really love your friend, you've got to love yourself. This was one of the most important mitzvahs in the Torah that Rabbi Cohen was explaining tonight. So thank you so much for helping us start accessing self-love, happiness, health, and looking forward to everybody to seeing you, please God, on Sunday night next week and Wednesday night with Rabbi David Aarons, that I'm sure Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen knows, on an amazing talk on the power of Kabbalah next Wednesday night with Rabbi David Aarons. So a huge thank you, Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen. Thank you, for your dad. Tremendous blessings for you and your family. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you very, very soon on a J Network near you. Good night, everyone.